Do you know your neighbors? Do you like them? Love them? What about, that neighbor? Jesus said, love that neighbor. Good morning and welcome to 755 Live. For about 5 minutes, you'll hear all about easy to remember soundbite versions of what Jesus said. And the point is to help you experience life to the fullest, the Jesus way. Today's Jesus said in our Bible plan at bible.today.church comes from Matthew 22, 39 through 40. Today we're going to start with verse 34 to set a little context, reading from the NET version. Now when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they assembled together. Now to put that in context, the Pharisees and the Sadducees were theologically very different, and Jesus had just stumped them. Verse 35, and one of them, an expert in religious law, asked Jesus a question to test him. Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest? Jesus said to him, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commandments. Now, this was an interesting answer to the question that they had given Jesus to test him. Actually, from our Bible plan, the memory verses this week from Mark 12, 30 and 31 reflect these two commands. Love God and love others. A real good example of who our neighbor is comes from the story that we call the Good Samaritan. That's in Luke 10. And part of the understanding the religious leaders of Jesus' day should have gotten, because this concept of loving God with everything and loving your neighbor as yourself was actually Old Testament law. In fact, Leviticus 19:18 says, you must not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people, but you must love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. I am Yahweh. Now, the way that the Jews in this day, the religious people of this day understood this, their cultural understanding was to take care and be concerned for those that are like you. And those that were testing Jesus were looking for an exception, especially in Luke 10, the story of the Good Samaritan. Before Jesus tells this story, an expert in the law asked Jesus this question. Wanting to justify himself from Luke 10:29, the expert said to Jesus, and who is my neighbor? And in this context and over in Scripture, Jesus made it clear that our neighbor is literally everyone. Do you love that neighbor? That one who seems unlovable, that one that doesn't fit in your cultural box, that one that society says doesn't belong. Jesus said, even love that neighbor. In Luke 6, 31 through 32, Jesus said to treat others in the same way you would want them to treat you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. So as we, trying to be Jesus followers, are to obey what Jesus said and to shine the light of goodness in the world, the question that we have to ask ourselves is, what is the difference between us and the world? If we aren't different from the world, how can we really make a difference? And that difference is shown in how we treat others. Loving God with everything is incomplete unless we also love our neighbor as ourselves. And it's not about finding an exception to the rule. It's not loving everyone that fits into our little box, loving those that are like us. The difference is that a Jesus follower loves everyone. Now, that doesn't mean that we compromise. That doesn't mean that we don't have any standards. But our standard is not to condemn and judge others, but to love our neighbor as ourselves. And yes, even to love that neighbor, the one that's difficult, the one that's hard to put up with. Jesus said, love that neighbor. How can you put that into action today? Thank you so much for listening. If this is meaningful to you, it really means a lot. If you like it, if you share it, if you comment. Good morning, Rita. It's good to see you this morning. Really appreciate all the support and comments. I hope that you have an amazing day. And I hope this time together has helped you live life to the fullest, the Jesus way. So remember, follow Jesus today. Love first.